Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Info Rush. This is episode 3 from Cracks to Crackdown. Now, before we start with this episode, I would like to highlight one fact that this entire case happened with respect to the FNO market, which is the future and options market. And the second point is that we have referred only to the SEBI report for
Mhm.
for the entirety of this series.
We will be adding
So
that in a description as well. So if you
yes,
want to take a look, you can take a look there as well.
yes. Now, remember in episode 1, we mentioned a certain Ken Fong who wrote to regulators in 2015 claiming that certain brokers were getting faster market data than others. In a normal setting, this wouldn't matter much. But in algorithmic trading, even a difference of a few microseconds or milliseconds can translate into a major trading advantage, as we have mentioned time and again. The broker who receives the update first can react and place a trade before others even see the price. So, SEBI launched one of the most technically complex investigations in Indian market history. Multiple independent groups examined the system, including SEBI's cross functional team, the Technical Advisory Committee, an expert committee led by IIT Bombay, Deloitte, EY, and there was also a study by the Indian School of Business. And based on these reports, the SEBI order examined several key issues. So let's dive into what exactly these issues were.
It is interesting. I mean, so many people were involved in this report, and the whole R&D and the analysis behind this thing talks about the
Yes,
volume of this case.
exactly. Now, the first issue was whether the TCP, the Transmission Control Protocol, provided fair and equitable access. Now, this was about the architecture itself and not about some person's involvement. Under this, the first sub issue we can refer it to as was the first connect or early login issue. The core problem lies in how TCP distributes data. Unlike a broadcast system, TCP sends data to one recipient at a time. This means the system delivers the same market update sequentially, moving from one connection to the next. While this sequence may appear random, the investigation pointed out something important. This randomness was not part of a carefully designed fairness mechanism. It was simply the result of chance events, like which server happened to connect first on a given day. Thus, the system did confer an advantage to early loggers in a port, even if it was unknowingly. So, moving on to the second sub issue, which is the IP allocation and absence of load balancer. The allegations were that there was no laid down policy for mapping of the IPs to the servers distributing the data. Also, there were no standard operating procedure to deal with a request for change in IP mapped to a particular
Okay.
server. Therefore, the IP shift requests from one server to another was left at the discretion of the project support management team, which allegedly has shown differentiated treatment or response for different trading members for such requests. And the other point was about load balancing. Remember how we mentioned about faster data flow for servers with low traffic or connections, कि जिस servers में कम connections है वहाँ data जल्दी flow होगा. So it was observed that there were significant variations in terms of number of connections across different servers and ports. So for example, I remember reading in the report that एक सर्वर को सिर्फ 30 कनेक्शंस मैप किए जा सकते हैं,
Okay.
पर इट वाज फाउंड कि कोई सर्वर्स में 30 से ज्यादा कनेक्शंस मैप थे,
Oh, okay.
which was a red flag
Correct. So it's
in the
basically कि
investigation.
एक लोकेशन से दूसरे लोकेशन जाना है, but you're crowding एक लोकेशन पे ज्यादा लोग, so that other location पे traffic कम हो गया,
Exactly.
even though the distance may be shorter.
Exactly.
So again, that person will reach faster.
Yes. So, what is a load balancer? A load balancer is a hardware or software that distributes network or traffic load across a number of POP servers to ensure fair and equitable access to data. The allocation of IP addresses to dissemination servers was manual, Because there was no load balancer, traders connected to less crowded servers could potentially receive market data faster than those on heavily loaded servers.
Right.
So, what were the findings? What did SCBI actually find? That there were variations of load at ports and would have resulted in a varied time lag for distribution of data under sequential data process. But it was also found that no specific inference could be drawn out regarding allegations that differential conduct was displayed to different members. So these allegations were ruled out to be untrue. Now, the absence of randomizer. What is a randomizer? It is a function which would randomly pick a connection to begin the distribution of data rather than starting with the first connection each time. Hence, that would remove the advantage of connecting first. It was also observed that randomizer was implemented only for bucket POP and not for normal TBT segments. Now, what is bucket POP? That application is a separate service wherein the members can define a bucket of scripts or contracts for which they would like to receive the tick by tick feed, and this bucket would be member specific and would be a selective feed. So it was found out that the randomizer, तो जो लोगों ने ये bucket POP के लिए ये किया है, तो सिर्फ वहां पे randomizer was there, but जो normal tick by tick segment है वहां पे randomizer नहीं था. Now, what did SEBI find? SEBI asked the question, why just in bucket POP have a randomizer and not in normal TBT
I was
segments?
going to ask the same question.
Yeah, it found that there was no justification in NSE having limited the randomizer to the bucket POP. Overall, for the issue 1, that is whether the TCP, the protocol was fair, it was concluded that the TCP architecture of the tick by tick data feed as adopted by NSE was inadequate. Moreover, even the implementation of the TBT data feed architecture was not in accordance with the standards stipulated by NSE's development team, specifically with respect to the procedure of IP allotment and the allocation of IPs within the limit.
So maybe somewhere there was some preferential allocation, but
Yes, so say this SEBI's report does not very explicitly state that there has been a preferential treatment given to people, but it has pointed out that it was the system itself. It was
Correct, okay.
not ensured that the system
Like a
should have been
loophole.
fair. Yeah, so there was a loophole. You can
Correct,
say
okay.
that. Yes. The second issue was pertaining to access to the secondary servers and the mechanism in NSE to monitor these secondary server, how they're being used. Now, these servers were intended primarily for business continuity in case the primary server failed, like a backup. The secondary server, however, was also an active server, and there was no system whereby the secondary server would start up only when the primary server failed or when it was down. Ticks were distributed faster to members connected to less crowded servers, thereby giving an advantage to such members. Such was the allegation. So, what were the findings? So, as a welcome email, NSC used to also mail the co-location guidelines, जिसमें ये mentioned होता था कि secondary server आपको तभी use करना है जब primary server fail हो या ऐसे कुछ. So, but what SEBI said was that there was no circular issued by NSE in this regard. वो बस co-location guidelines थे उसमें बस
just a
mentioned था.
formality.
Yeah. So NSE, what NSE said in its defense was that it expected that members would connect to the secondary server only when they are unable to connect to the primary server. But what SEBI pointed out was merely stating that they expected a particular conduct from the side of the trading members does not suffice. In a scene of cutthroat competition to get information packets before the others in terms of time advantage, the propensity on the part of TMs to misuse the secondary server access should have been kept in check by active and constant vigil. which is fair. Now there was also one observation made by the report that NSE used to intermittently monitor connections to the secondary servers. मतलब बीच में वो monitor करता था. For instance, during November 2011 to June 2012, on 14 days, NSE had issued warning or advisory to 53 trading members. And total 94 communications were issued in total. मतलब trading members को बार communicate किया गया था that you're not supposed to connect to the secondary servers without intimation. However, after June 2012, NSE ceased to perform the limited checks on connections to the secondary server. In the absence of a strict monitoring system and a strict mechanism, the non-compliant trading members who routinely connected to the secondary servers were able to harvest the benefits of early access to the tick-by-tick feeds. Now, NSE gave these reasons which were quite absurd when I read these statements for not having adopted any proactive measures, such as the very first thing that would come to your mind was कि अगर ये बार even after warning connect कर रहे थे तो फिर
हटा दो, I mean, I don't know the word,
disconnect those TMs from their servers or whatever. तो ये क्यों नहीं किया गया? So NSE had something to say on this. So what NSE said in its defense was कि हमने ये क्यों नहीं किया. First was disruption of business to the trading members due to inability to close out open positions, and second, the procedure to take disciplinary proceeding being time consuming. But SEBI stated that this defense does not justify the stand of a first line regulator, which is expected to regulate the conduct of trading members both from the market integrity perspective and from the perspective of fairness and equity. It failed to take effective action or invoke any penal action. So it was concluded that NSE did not have defined policies and procedures around secondary server access, except for those mentioned in the guidelines. And NSE did not have a documented policy or procedure around reprimanding trading members connecting to the secondary servers. And in the absence of defined policy and procedures, the monitoring of connections by TMs to the secondary server was assigned to the level of junior staff in the exchange, and it was not supervised by any higher ups,
Oh my god.
paving the way for misuse of secondary servers.
That is pretty crazy.
Exactly. And that brings us to the first half of the story. We have unpacked how the system worked, the architecture behind it, and the set of issues raised in the investigation. Questions around whether the way market data was distributed truly ensured fair and equal access to all trading members. In the next episode, we'll look at who was held liable and the final directions passed by SEBI. Until then, this is Info Rush. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and log out smarter.
And don't forget to follow us on wherever you get your podcast from.